Welcome back, everybody, to week number 5 of the Stage 2 Quake Pro League. Up next, it's going to be dramis versus whaz. Safe to say that I think it's two players that are quite evenly matched, and it could very well be a close one.
They're pretty close in points as well, so this matchup matters all that much more to them. Getting that extra 16 points over your opponent right now, I mean, that would be huge for either one of these players. That could put such a big gap between you and the other that might ultimately mean the difference between being up for relegation and just safely staying in the Pro League.
Okay, so let's have a bit of a chat about dramis, and we'll see what to expect from him. Actually had quite a good week last week. Was able to take a map off Rafa, which is no easy feat. And I think, if anything, a great boost to his own confidence that he has the ability to take a map off, you know, one of the absolute best Quake players that has ever existed. So that's always going to be good for your morale, but yeah, ultimately not able to get the win, but it's momentum going into the next week, I should say.
Also, a bit of an interesting history between these two players. Once they played at QuakeCon, I believe it was whaz who won 2-1, but then when they went up against each other during Stage 1, it was the reverse, dramis winning 2-1. So they're currently 1-1 in terms of their match history, both not doing that well back at Italy. They went out within the first round, both of them, I believe, but still, two players that are clearly closely matched and that have got a score to settle.
Absolutely, and at the same time, they went out in their first round, but at the same time, they weren't near relegation.
Yeah,
and that I definitely think that going into Stage 1, their objective was not to be at the very top, but to kind of survive enough that you've not got to worry about the lower end, and that you can kind of only grow from there. We've got whaz up next to, you know, kind of like a mirror effect of dramis in the same way. You know, we talked about how they've traded results. This is another opportunity to think who's going to be up on series, you know, as it were. Who's going to get the bragging rights, if anything. But a bit of a question mark, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the more difficult games to call this evening. And look at that whaz just speeding around the web of his anarchy. He definitely enjoys the movement and the flashy rails. Those are two things that I would say whaz is pretty well known for. Although he isn't primarily a duel player, though, he tends to gravitate more towards the team modes, but still, clearly he is a top-tier dueler just the same.
Ultimately, it's what the Quake Pro League has done, is that it's forced you to play duel, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You know, this is the premier game mode. It is the only game mode of Quake Pro League. So if you weren't one before, you will be by the end of it. And you can definitely say after Quake Pro League that whaz is, by all accounts, a dueler. And he's been consistent enough that he's in Stage 2.
Yeah,
you know, and that's definitely better than nothing.
I mean, you cannot survive Stage 1 of the Quake Pro League surrounded by 20 of the best Quake players in the entire world and not be considered a dueler. It straight up isn't possible. He's earned a spot.
He is now. We've got the picks and bans. We can see what to expect as we are moments away, actually, from going into our first map. Bit of a mix-up, not necessarily in the maps, but their order. It's Awoken first. We get to see the slash, and I mean, it wouldn't be dramis without the slash, but dramis specifically said on Twitter, you know, be prepared for some crouch sliding this weekend, and we get to see it with the Strogan Pika at the exact same time, going up next on Ruins of Sarnath within the same realm, of course, so it's now going to be the same pool of maps, and then the final map to be Blood Covenant, where the Athena has been picked. Yep. dramis has gone for some very high-octane picks here.
This kind of worries me for whaz, right? Because dramis is one of those players who's very well known for his extreme movement skills. He's so good, especially on those crouch lining champions, and he's got both of them, not just one. He's got both slash and stroke lined up in the first two maps, so it's going to be very difficult for whaz to meet that aggression, that energy that's no doubt going to come out of his opponents.
And whaz's picks a little bit more just good, like traditional, reliable stack.
Yep.
And we get to see some Doom coming out there as well. But the final pick, I think, going toe-to-toe with the speed. You know, the Athena's being picked from dramis going into Blood Covenant, but whaz has picked Anarchy. Yeah. And, you know, whaz has had some fantastic results with Anarchy historically, and it's an opportunity, I think, to match the speed with more speed. And that's, of all three of these maps, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
I mean, that's going to be such an explosive matchup. You've got Athena, the one with the grappling hook. She can be anywhere at any time, just grapple and swing all the way through the map. But then you've got Anarchy. He's got the air control. He's got the injection, the speed boost. He is so quick. As we're about to jump into map 1, this is Awoken, and we're starting this one off on whaz with the Doomslayer.
It's two players that have traded results as we've gone throughout the course of Quake Pro League, be it QuakeCon, be it the weeklies, or whatever it may be. This is an opportunity for one of the two players to get some real bragging rights of, hey, remember that time I was the last person to beat you? And immediately, some tasty rockets. whaz, no fear going up towards the jump pad. He knows the ball's going to be in dramis' court to try and get out of there. The return rocket is very good, and it forces him away. dramis, the goal is going to be get some goddamn armor.
I'm actually surprised that dramis came out on top of that one, because it really looked like whaz was trying to chase him down, but then just the rockets just pelting him backwards, and whaz had to give up the mega and the heavy armor as well. dramis, despite being the smaller and lighter champion, actually having the better stack. No frags just yet though, still calm 0-0. whaz still lacking that railgun. He's gonna want to get his hands on that crucial weapon.
It feels a little bit odd that he wasn't able to collect it. Yeah. He was able to run right past it, but he was so fixated on trying to get the damage that he didn't collect it along the way. It's been a bit of a problem for him so far. You know, these range options where he hasn't got the rail. So when dramis has the angle on him, and actually chooses to go point blank, the berserk is popped, but there's no way in hell he's gonna follow through. And this should be his opportunity. Not only get some rocket ammo, but finally able to collect that all-important railgun. Going to be a bit tricky to hit these rails versus slash from some of these ranges, but the option is better than no option. Just look at how fast dramis is able to just slide in there. And before you can even blink, he has the mega.
And also just look at the timing. He arrived the split second that mega spawned. So dramis, he's on top of it right now. And his opponent just 33 points of health to work with. whaz has to be sneaky, has got to be tactical as he maneuvers his way out of the room. That's an excellent rocket and a rail to boot as well. 5 points of health. And another one. whaz just instantly, completely reversing, being in such a bad position.
It is borderline shocking that whaz was able to not only survive that, but come off so much better. That look at the stack difference. I cannot believe dramis wasn't able to finish that, but every single shot whaz desperately needed to hit, he hit it perfectly.
I was really expecting whaz to chase through the teleporter, but I guess he just didn't because he wasn't quite sure just how low his opponent was, but just a tickle of LG would have finished off the slash right there.
Oh, the nice immediate dodges. Double back, yeah, for sure.
And again, the perfectly timed steal. That's the experience that you see coming out of dramis. He knows exactly how fast he's going and how long it'll take him to get onto that mega, and he uses that perfectly too. Rails being exchanged, but still 0-0. Both players right now realizing that this could be a bit of a nail-biter. This could be an endurance race, so they don't want to give up that first frag at any cost.
Especially impressive seeing as dramis was not the one that collected the mega before he swooped in. He still had the perfect timing just by whaz taking it.
Yeah.
And it's not just a matter of being able to time an item that you... Oh god, wait a minute, before I can even finish talking about it. Full speed ahead, but this is the problem dramis has been having. He's been getting some great shots and his timing has been immaculate.
Yeah.
What hasn't been is his ability to finish it with the rails. He's hitting rails to get the damage, but when the final shot needs to land, he's missed every time. Now, we're 3.5 minutes in to 0-0. By all accounts, dramis should have a couple of frags after this. And again, can he finish it? No! He still cannot finish the frag. And at the same time, whaz does enough damage to survive and then put dramis on the back foot, enough to make him run away. Yeah. This is a insane start to the map, and I cannot believe not a single frag has come out yet.
He's got the stack advantage right now. The Doomslayer whaz, he should be able to hopefully do some exit damage right here. He hears the bounce pad being used. But dramis, reluctant to show himself, will take a rail in the back though. whaz, both of these players have just had a lot of difficulty finishing off their frags because they've really been getting their opponent bleeding and screaming low time and time again, but just unable to find that final little bit of exit damage that will get them the kill. And we're approaching the 5-minute mark, that halfway point in the first map, without any frags.
Good use of the double jump. Actually, the plasma trail, full speed ahead. But once more, whaz. Borderline death, but if the map's going to repeat what we've seen so far, is he truly at death's door right now? dramis has been completely unable to land those finishing rails so far now. Checking out whaz, going now banana. Able to get some rail damage, just to shut down some of the mega that was collected here, but... yeah, what an interesting map this has been so far, Flea. I feel like both a lot has happened and not much has happened at the same time.
I mean, especially because the champions that they're playing, these are not champions that typically struggle finishing off their opponents, right? That's what you might see with like a Galena, who doesn't have any sort of offensive abilities, doesn't have any speed to work with either. But this is Doomslayer. this is Slash. They should be able to really close the gap, chase their opponent down, and finish things off with relative ease. But still, so far, none of that has happened, and I feel like it's unlikely for that to change unless something like this happens. Slash drops down the rail, being exchanged. Both players extremely low, and whaz is the one to find the shot first. Finally, 5 minutes and 30 seconds in. It will be whaz getting that one frag up on the scoreboard.
Almost fitting that it came down to one rail either way, but now dramis actually spot of bother right here.
Nope.
I don't blame whaz for not taking that shot. She's way too fast for that one. But I'm looking at the stack now, and the fact that whaz is on so much more. This heavy is about to appear. dramis tries to get a little bit of a stack, but he knows it's a bit tricky to try and fight for this heavy. No damage done. We'll ignore that.
It happens. It happens.
It's easy. It's easy.
Mega up in 10 seconds. Here we go. The plasma trail dropping down defensively. whaz, can he peek?
Oh,
He does. Beautifully so. That's probably going to give Mega to his opponent. He definitely will miss the shot right there. Excellent play from dramis. Putting the plasma trail right there that made it so that his opponent couldn't comfortably and for any extended period of time show his face. So all he could do was jump in, peek, and get right back out, or he would set off the detonation.
Consequences of that one missed rail. The opening for him to get away, get the mega, put yourself behind. So, whaz had to waste a little bit of time trying to restack back up. Of course he's been able to get himself back up to a regular stack, but we're just about to hit 7 minutes and only one frag has been landed. It's absolutely insane that that is the case with just how much action has taken place here, but it is coming down to those killing blows and some crucial rails that just aren't hitting their mark. It's more unfortunate for dramis. dramis is sitting on full control here, but it's what he can get off it, and so far it feels like he hasn't got much.
And that's one of the reasons that Doom is such a good pick on this map. There's so much mobility you get around the center area that whaz is playing beautiful. You can jump from Mega to T, you can jump from Rockets to T. There's so many little things that you can do from LG into T towards Tribal. There's just so many evasive actions that you can take, and whaz has been doing that perfectly, and he just keeps dishing out the damage too. dramis, he's in control, he's getting the items, but he's just really not doing the damage right now.
whaz is going to be pretty comfortable at the same time, understanding that he's the one that's in charge. Full speed ahead is coming dramis, using the crouch slide, but not quite able to time the mega. But that's one thing dramis has had pretty much perfectly throughout the course of this map is whenever that mega appears, dramis is there, ready to collect it. The absolute millisecond it appears on the map. And now whaz tries in vain to force him away from the heavy, but absolutely gets melted down.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a mistake from whaz. I feel like he wanted to stop his opponent from getting in full control, but by positioning himself there so brazenly, he's just gonna push right back in. What? Okay, he says, don't mind me, I'm just passing by, collecting some minor resources and getting out of here. And it's miraculously going to work, but he doesn't have a lot of time to work with. 1 minute and 30 seconds. Here we go. Steals the heavy, takes a lot of damage in return. There comes the plasma trail. Doesn't kill him, but I think it did a little bit of damage.
dramis is weak. The objective's going to be to try and survive here. Try and get some of that stack back up. In a very short space of time, dramis has been able to secure himself 3 frags. It's what he's been looking for the entire time. That was such a good opening rail from whaz. Has put them both weak. Looking for a miracle shot. whaz trying to double back, but eats a rail in the backside for his troubles. And now as they both disengage, the question is, 1 minute warning. whaz has to get 2 frags here. But now dramis can use the speed to play that defensive game. He can use the clock as his friend in this situation and use her mobility to kind of just evade Doomslayer. And it looks like now dramis, he's just listening out for it, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not giving him any information. Sit around here for as long as he can, and the second he can hear or see him, he'll get out of there.
Yeah,
there's
just like
trail.
that. Awoken, though, pretty small and fast map. If dramis can be caught out at a wrong place, bad time, just like that. There we go, 3-2, and with 25 seconds left to go, this is definitely possible. whaz can maybe find him off the spawn. He's gonna hear him over towards Mega.
Alright, so he's got the information, and he's got the resources. Here comes the heavy. Every weapon he could want to get the job done, but he has to find him and catch him. dramis sees him. Actually, dramis sticking around. Kind of surprised to see that. Goes in for the teleporter, but this is the speed. No! Could this be the punishing mistake? The berserk! The berserk at the last second! We're going into sudden death.
You love to see it being used just like that. dramis missed the jump across, and it cost him so dearly.
No. And he hasn't got a rail because he spawned at the wrong side.
Yeah. Heavy is still up, though.
Oh, the rail. That's such bad news for dramis if he goes on the jump pad. He risks everything. But the miss lets him get away. But dramis, he doesn't even want the heavy. I think he's like, that's too much of a risk to put himself down there, potentially.
I don't think he knew it was there. I honestly don't think dramis is aware
that
it was there. Oh! Just not ready for the speed. And once you start missing those first rockets, I mean, there's so little that you can do. But I really don't think that he even knew that heavy was there. Maybe he just jumped right across trying to get out. Either way, very impressive plays from both of these players. Extremely controlled, disciplined for most of the map, but then when they needed to step it up, at least in the second half of the map, they did. They did.
That's the final quarter, as it were, because that was, I think, a map of many emotions, to be honest. There was that constant reoccurring issue of, I think, whaz being able to answer back just enough that dramis couldn't really push anything. You know, they were always forced to disengage, that dramis would have all the stack, and that was the first official turning point where dramis decides to try and go as far ahead as he can. And then when he finally landed the frag, whaz kind of challenging some of those locations and just getting melted down by the LG for a struggle. You know, this was the second time, and it happens again in the next frag here. And dramis going full speed ahead. Even though whaz hits that return rail, it's not enough to finish the job. But the second the gear had to turn, it certainly did. And you know, we talk about maybe he didn't necessarily know that the heavy was there during sudden death. Perhaps that was a blessing in disguise, because it just allowed dramis to go as, you know, we had the X-ray. We could see how crazy fast he was going, and then that rail to finish it off. If he missed that rail, he was weak. You know, that could have been a very punishing shot to miss.
Yeah, I think that whaz just put himself out of position a few too many times. Especially towards, like, after he gave up that first frag, and then, as you just said, right, once, twice, 3 times in a row that he was showing up at an item where he might not have had the exact timing, didn't have the right weapons, and then he just ends up taking so much damage that he's put on the back foot and he can't even get away. Overall, very impressive plays from both of these players, but yeah, dramis just edging it out at the end with that beautiful rail.
Well, movement's going to be just as apparent as we go into our next map, you know, Ruins of Sarnath, and it's from one crouch slider to another. You know, we can see dramis has locked in and selected the Strog, so we'll see how much that's going to benefit him. But the Visor, if memory serves me, should be the opponent, so we'll see if whaz is able to use that. But after how that map went, it's hard to predict, you know, because that went down to quite, you know, by all definition, it went down to the wire. And do we expect anything less of 2 players that have consistently gone back and forth? No. We're going into map number 2 to see if history can repeat itself.
One of the things that we definitely have to look out for is the denial of the hourglasses, because Strog, again, is not a champion that very often uses his active ability, just like the Doomslayer, and that means that whaz might have so many free hourglasses to work with and nearly constantly have his piercing side up. So I really hope, for dramis' sake, that he can do something to deny that.
The immediate rails, they begin to trade as they always do with these 2 players. The Pika was used, and even after these rails finally lands the final one. But if anything, it is information. dramis thinks maybe he can try his luck and beat him to the punch with the Mega, at the very least deny it. But he's taken a lot more damage than he's comfortable for, perfectly delaying and waiting for the piercing sight to be used here. But he can't quite get a read on it.
Oh, that was such a nice shot, yeah. I'm also happy to see the Peaker already being used. To me, that shows that dramis is not afraid to actually use the active ability. You very often see players, even pros, being really unsure and uncertain when it's the best time to use that ability, and then they end up not doing it at all. That might not have been the right time, though, taking a fair bit of heavy nail gun damage. whaz does get out after taking a rail, but dramis, he's hurting a bit. Still has got some stack left to work with, but I feel like he just completely got pushed out of control. And that rail, yep, that's kind of gonna cripple him. And look at that stack difference at the top of the screen. That's huge.
It's almost poetic how you described the use of Pika, and how when the time is right, it can be so beneficial, and when the time is not, well, this can happen. Ask and you shall receive.
You're a sitting duck. You're not completely invisible, and that heavy nail gun, that does so much. That's 100 damage rocket to the face. Mega gone in an instant, as whaz has the better positioning on the heavy.
Looks unlikely dramis is going to try and challenge it. More likely he's trying to position himself and get one of those tasty rail angles, but no, actually, we're going to have a fight on our hands. Piercing sight gets used to land the rails. Looking to land a second one at the same time. whaz a little bit concerned about taking a rail himself with the base stack is all he's currently working with.
I like the use of the piercing sight right there. Even though whaz knew exactly where his opponent was, he also figured out that it was going to be a railgun fight at a pretty decent distance, with his opponent having a lot to hide behind. So using that piercing sight gave him that extra bit of information he needed to land that initial opening shot. But unfortunately for him, couldn't manage to land any more after that. dramis right now decently stacked, 100-100. He's got the default stack. Getting ready to make a move on the Mega maybe. Now will retreat just in time.
whaz certainly with a lot more to work with. And it actually sounds like, yeah, Pika was used and then destroyed instantly. Potentially not a good time to go with it, but he's looking for those rockets. whaz hits one, but is actually railable with the stack he's working with. Surprised dramis wasn't really looking for a rail angle there, actually, as he come through the teleporter, but can't let wasted opportunities get you down too much. He has to be very careful near this heavy, though, whaz. Even with that heavy taken, the rail was what we're always going to worry about here. And for that reason, you know, the second one rail hits at that stack, and actually the time used for piercing sight could have been dangerous. But this time it's going to actually benefit him. 1-0 now.
5 points of health left, but that was all it took for whaz to get the first frag on the second map. But right now, though, he is outstacked. Slightly. Although that small armor is going to help him out a fair bit, but the heavy should be going towards his opponent, dramis. Got a clean line of sight, but look at that, whaz excellently positioning himself in a place where he can hear the item being picked up and has got the exact timing in his might. Mega will spawn right underneath him. And ultimately does manage to get away pretty cleanly too.
Piercing sight gets immediately popped as the fight breaks out. Actually looks like the color scheme of the piercing sight somewhat got in the way of the Pika activation. Did manage to get the flick all the same. dramis, railable. whaz at the same time, just as railable. So he's looking for the shot. If he just landed that, that would have been a punish into a free frag, into a free heavy bit.
Always good use of the Peeker, though. Actually managed to do quite a bit of damage while he was falling down, just using the robot to fly right back up your opponent. No way they're expecting that. And then you just have some free damage that you can put out. Heavy, next major item to spawn 10 seconds from now. Both players definitely keeping their eye on it. It will be dramis with a better positioning. whaz, I think he's just going to give that up and make his way over to Mega. Yeah, he wants at least one of those. He doesn't want to give up both and then be put out completely off control.
He should have been able to listen to it too, so timing is not something he's going to lack in this situation. Pika is activated. He knows he's down in teleporter and he's looking to use the teleporter to punish, but he's taken a bunch of damage and the click, watch out for it, no more rails. And this is actually a pretty precarious position to be in. whaz gonna get a little bit bullied now. dramis laying the pressure on thick. By all accounts, should be a frag if he can land it, but he misses the rail again. The common talking point here, just not able to finish the job, Flea.
That's like the 5th kill rail missed by dramis so far. He's had so many opportunities to finish off his opponent, and not that they were easy rails, so you can't really blame him. But damn. Those are a lot of missed opportunities to tie it up, or to, towards the beginning of the game, even take the lead.
That's the danger, isn't it? The fact that there's only one frag separating the two players. There's not a lot of time left. You know, just over 4 minutes, but any lead you can extend is going to be better than what you had before, and there ain't no easy way of explaining that, except that. But going into the potential now, the two items that have spawned, there's almost identical times on them, so whaz is, at this stage, just looking to get some information and maybe spring a trap. Looks like he might be close to doing that. But dramis worried about it at the same time. And here comes that piercing sight. And he knows where he's pushing him away to. He's trying to set up maybe a teleport. Oh, and he second guesses it. But he still hits the shot. Second guesses the angle. And then manages to return to the angle for the split second. That's a very impressive shot.
And by keeping on that rocket just barely missed his face, but whaz is just putting out a very consistent amount of damage, and that's stopping his opponent from getting full control. Heavy will now actually go to whaz. dramis is still showing his face, even though he is outstacked. Races on for the Mega, but still 10 seconds to go. whaz can absolutely establish control right here. He can get the next rotation all to himself.
For the rocket, really good shot. but a good shot on the Pika at the same time. If that shot missed, the Pika may even have actually scored the frag with how weak whaz was. Opening rail's going to miss, but the second one will not. And that's finally 1-1.
That was an excellent rail. Definitely not an easy one, and dramis at long last will hit a kill shot with the railgun. Can he convert this into something more than just control? Can he find some more frags after getting that nice shot just a moment ago? Mega up in just a second. Can he manifest himself on the item? He sure can. It's gonna be a close quarters fight. Rail will miss. That would have been a Did whaz just fall down? No, okay.
They're gonna chase it down. Here comes the Pika. Kamikaze. If he was able to chase it, then potentially would have been very close to a frag after that, but dramis doesn't want to play any games here. Looks for the rail! Lands the easy one, line him up and he'll knock him down 2-1. And it's a pretty consistent thing that dramis, he's temporarily down for quite a while, and then as the map is about to close, that's where the comeback starts to come into play. Has to watch out though. Going a little bit too fast into Mega, pushed away. This should be a 2-2. And the rocket will see it done. I feel like sometimes at the crouch sliding champions, the movement can be used against them.
Yeah.
That the dramis was going so fast round that corner. He was kind of in a bad position the second he even saw whaz.
He's gonna be blaming himself for that one, because that should have been his frag, or at the very least a clean escape, but just slipping right on by the Mega put him such a vulnerable state. And right now I can absolutely see this going into overtime. There we go, the Peeker comes out. whaz actually trying to shoot past the robot onto the player himself.
Happy to let the Pika do its thing if it means we can line up some direct shots on the user. And now he's full speed. Should be a frag. Looking for the rail. Misses the shot, but they both do! Again! How many times is this going to happen? That should be a 3-2 in either direction, but not today, I guess.
Nope, like I said, I can see this heading into overtime very likely. So even Mega spawning in just a second. It will be whaz getting himself on that item. I feel like dramis had a bit of an opportunity there, but probably didn't have a clean read on where his opponent was at. And now we've entered the final minutes before we hit overtime. We're empties completely. dramis looking the wrong way, completely unaware, blindsided out of nowhere, and there we go. Excellent use of the piercing sight. Unfortunately for whaz, though, not getting the angle, but that was really good. Patiently waiting until after he kills his opponent, and then he instantly get a lot of information off the spawn.
Now there's an opportunity to come back here. You know, we have less than 30 seconds to get the job done. The problem is whaz was able to get both the heavy and put himself in a position to land that rail on dramis. Now the Pika been used, probably the last Pika we're going to see over the course of this map, but there's the flick rail.
Okay.
whaz on the back foot. dramis has to land the shot. He has to chase it down. He has 10 seconds left to go. This is Ruins of Sarnath, though, so chasing is not easy to do. Even with the crouch sliding movement, whaz is evading him, and it looks like he should be fine to do it. 3-2's the final count, and we're going down to the last map to decide who wins. Evenly matched. I mean, we weren't underselling that, were we?
No,
at the start of the series.
I like the dodge from whaz at the end there, getting down to the eyeball, because that's such a slow thing to do, right? You could see it when he was dropping down. He was like bup, 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 on the little ledges all the way down, so slow, such an easy target, but he knew that he had just enough of a lead over his opponent to be able to get down safely and then just round the corner, and that's just so unexpected. Your opponent's not going to chase you down there.
But I'm thinking at the same time that the way he chose to evade down when he was near Rocket Room, I think that's actually kind of good for dealing with the Strog, because it's fair to assume that dramis is going to be going full speed, and if he tries to chase down at that exact same angle while he's mid-crouch slide, he's going to fly really far forward, and it's going to take him an extra couple of seconds to actually reach the staircase. And when you only had a matter of, like, what was basically 10 seconds left on the clock, probably the fastest way whaz could have got around him. I like that little bit of optimization right there, but... That wasn't the first time we saw a rocket into jump pad into a rail to finish the job. We saw it again from whaz, and this was where it all went wrong. This was, I think, what really set the wheels in motion for what happened afterwards.
Yeah, dramis, like I said earlier, he's going to be regretting that one. And then the missed rail. Again, there were so many missed shots. Like, this game ended 3-2, but this could have been 7-5. Easily. Like, based on how many shots were missed on both players that would have resulted in a frag, this could have been such a higher scoreline than what we saw.
It's the common theme, though, of just, sound like a broken record now, but just not finishing the job. And we'll see if that happens again on the final map, Blood Covenant, but a little bit of spice in the mix. It's Athena being picked by dramis, and then Anarchy from whaz. So if anything, it's going to be a fast one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to see Athena used again. She's not a champion we see picked on a regular basis in the Quake Pro League, and I'm really hoping that we're actually going to see some of the swing action come into play, because very often people only use Athena to just pull into their target in a straight line, but she can actually like pivot around and swing around using that grapple hook, and it is such a joy to watch, and there's so many fun and creative things you can do with it, so I really hope we get to see some of that.
What we get to see in Quake Pro League is that Athena has quite possibly, I think, one of the highest skill ceilings. You know, she's not easy to learn, and especially at this level where she's one of the biggest glass cannons in the game. She is a light, she hasn't got a lot of stack, and if she's behind and you're constantly kind of keeping this momentum, she can get kind of destroyed, you know, because she just doesn't have the resources to make a comeback if you're constantly piling on the pressure, if her initial approach doesn't go very well. But when it works, it's one of the most glorious things that you can watch in the entire game, because there's so much execution required to making her movement as crisp as it needs to be at Quake Pro League level. The fact that dramis picked this champion, not very surprising. He likes these fast and furious picks, especially on Blood Covenant, where there's a lot of verticality, and her benefit of being able to, essentially use the grappling hook from the absolute bottom of the map all the way up to the top. It used to be Ranger was the only one that could do that. And then the second Athena comes out, this is one of the most popular maps that we see this champion get selected. But it is going to go down to the final map scenario, dramis versus whaz. They're one map apiece so far. We definitely expected it to be this close, but we'll see who wins this final pick.
I also think that Anarchy is a very good counter to Athena in more ways than one. Of course, you can match the speed, but also he's not that big of a reliant champion on the hourglasses, right? His ability, he can use it very often to get that extra health boost, but he doesn't need it all the time. And Athena is probably the single best hourglass denying champion in the entire lineup. So Anarchy really isn't that affected by it, which is going to help out a lot. And a very explosive start, almost resulting into a frag, but dramis does get out safely.
It spawned off some delicious rails. Dramis tried so hard to beat the punch, but the rails have been spectacular from whaz so far. Athena, the thing about her speed and the fact she's a light, and the fact that she gets unique movement options when she's airborne thanks to grappling in any direction, she is not easy to rail. She's one of the hardest champions in the game to hit a rail on successfully in that respect. And so far, whaz making it look very easy.
I mean, it's whaz with Anarchy on Blood Covenant. If you saw his personal highlight reel at the start, I feel like half the clips were just Anarchy with the rail on this map. Name a more iconic duo than whaz with a rail on Blood Covenant as Anarchy. You can't. So I'm expecting to see a lot of that, and dramis can dodge as he wants to. But whaz, I mean, he will be able to line up the shots. And again, can he find the final one?
That's the benefit of Athena right there. The fact that when she's airborne, if she has a jump pad or gets knocked up by a rocket, the use of just having the grappling hook activate on the floor, she's no longer a sitting duck. It is the element and the creativity of movement. Not a lot of champions out there in those situations have the option to just get out of danger the way she can. It's one of her strongest assets. But as you can see, because the rails have consistently been landing, dramis is always playing from behind, and he's never healthy enough to be comfortable enough to take a fight. He's having to give up a lot of control here. 2 minutes and only one frag so far, but it's enough for whaz to keep this level of control. And these rails they aren't missing.
No. And by waiting around a little bit, whaz actually managed to delay the heavy significantly. Now there's around 10 seconds between the two items, and if he can take Mega right now, he's got such a good outlook at also getting the heavy. 5 more seconds for the armor to song. He's right behind you, buddy!
Yeah, it looks like dramis did a great job of eluding him there. Not making any noise, and whaz being convinced, well, there's no way he's going to be down there. Think again.
Interesting use of the injection there, though, just quickly getting the speed boost, making himself basically impossible to hit as he dances out of reach of that railgun. And he's still continuing to hold on to that one frag lead, and dramis right now, he's just getting out-aimed. He's just taking so much damage from the rails, and he's struggling.
It's not stopping whaz from putting on the pressure, but one rocket and a rail to combo. And that level of dominance and pressure that whaz was putting on just got deleted.
There's no champion that can do that other than Athena, right? She was up there at the Mega, and out of nowhere, she just hooks straight down, whoop! Before you know it, she's down at such a bad angle for you. That's a lot of shoddy damage, though. But dramis finally kicking things into the highest gear as he's landing these impressive rails.
Mega's just about to spawn as well, so it matters not that dramis was weak after that 1v1 fight. And he goes in for that rocket just in case he goes up. And what? Where did that rocket even come from, it looked like? He's going to go down again, 3-1. Now we're starting to see the benefit of Athena quite extremely. It is that it's just how creative you can be with how you choose to move around, and it's clearly causing whaz some problems. He's hitting the rails just fine, but when it's time to do rockets, like look, whaz, it's so hard for him to land a shot. When he finally did, it's because finally dramis was in a position he probably didn't want to be. There's so much walls around, it's kind of impossible for her to avoid the splash damage in that regard.
Yeah.
And, you know, whaz, he picked this fight very well. He had the perfect chance to take the rocket. The second we're in open space, though, that fight becomes a different story.
Absolutely. Mega up in 10 seconds. whaz making a move on it. He's one frag behind. He does have control right now. dramis is 0 points of armor to his name. Does collect that small green armor at the top right there. But clearly, he's gonna want a whole lot more than just that. But now it's going to be difficult for whaz to actually chase and nail his opponent down, because as we've been saying all this time, Athena, she's got more mobility than literally anyone in the entire lineup of the Quake champions.
Not about speed, it's about choices. Yeah, it's the fact that I can go wherever I want to be, whenever I want. whaz, that's the second time we've actually seen him on the Observe do that. The fight in the open space, and whaz, it's no wonder he tried to escape, but some absolutely annihilating LG coming out from dramis. The moment the fight begins, the grappling, it just puts dramis in the perfect position. You can tell he's been practicing this champion.
Yeah, and just like that, after getting the frag, the Mega was right there waiting for him, so dramis, what? With a beautiful vertical rail, whaz was railable right after that one. Isn't anymore, it seems like. But what are you going to do right now? whaz is just on a light champion. He doesn't have a whole lot of stack, and in comes the grapple hook, just closing the gap instantly, and there's nothing you can do. You're a sitting duck.
It seems so much like whaz is sitting down there because he's looking for dramis to jump down so he can LG him. And then the second the grappling hook comes out, the classic trap of you jump down and I just pin you with this LG. You can't do that versus this champion. She'll just completely shut it down. Swapping out for the LG is going to delete again. And this is now time for whaz to be a little bit nervous. He's giving up a lot of frags very quickly. Perfect prediction rocket on the spawn and finishes the job. dramis has absolutely come online. I feel like this is the kind of accuracy in shots he's been looking for the entire series, but he's been missing most of them. He's not doing it anymore on Blood Covenant.
No, this is amazing from dramis right now. Everything's on point. The movement, the decisions, the aim. Look at that, whaz again. I feel like whaz is not really controlling the anarchy speed as well as he should right now, and often puts himself in bad positions. Like with that heavy just before, he just came up the bounce, or not the bounce, but up the stairs, and his opponent was waiting there for him, and before he could react, he had taken a fistful of LG and some more rockets to boot. Misses the rail though. That's whaz's saving grace. Can he turn something around right now?
Another grapple used just in case it was a bad situation, and we always talk about this, but the champions that have the kind of passively existing abilities, it's not just one giant payout, it's something that's forever respawning, the Keel grenades, the Galena totems, the Athena grappling hook on this map. The added bonus is that it's always there. In the time limit duel, it's not like Athena's going to die and then the next round you don't get to play as her, so you've got to blow all of your grappling hooks in one go. You can be so much more calculated thanks to Time Limit Duel, that this all-important mobility resource, in no time at all, he's got all three of them back and ready to rumble, but looking for the rocket angle. Can he get in and out? whaz knows it's not going to be so easy to pin this champion down, and dramis hits the rail on the way down, and he's able to deny. Not super weak, can still tank at least one more rail, but he'll barely be able to. Now whaz is going in. Oh, looking for the rail shot. Oh, thank you, Anarchy, for the increased air movement. This is still going to go down to one rail at this stage. But whaz chooses to make out with his life. And that's going to be the trade-off.
Yeah. whaz prioritizing getting back in control of the items right now, but I don't know if that's the right decision with just 2 minutes left on the clock. There's 5 frags he's got to make up against such a slippery and fast Athena to go up against. That's an excellent rail, though. That might be the start of something. dramis has to escape. Can he even do it? No, there's no way he's going to get out of that. whaz follows him closely, looking for the opening frag. Oh, just a moment too soon. That would have been a beautiful rocket.
Dramis did opt to go for the plan B there when he knew the death was certain, to turn around and get as much rocket damage as possible. Fortunately for whaz, though, he was unable to. A lovely little rocket boost and the rail to answer. He just needs a little bit more. But Asta can't catch me now. The sign that she's used the grappling hook and she is out of there. And whaz, his own speed used against him.
Exactly what I was talking about earlier. When you've got that kind of momentum, it's impossible to just stop on a dime, and your opponent can easily catch you by surprise and in a horrible position as well. Shotgun, another one of those Energies vices. It hurts him so much. And with a minute left to go, I mean, he needs to get one frag every 10 seconds against an Athena. This is looking borderline impossible.
It's been close the entire time, but not so much on this map. As this Athena, we don't get to see a lot of success come out of this champion. She does not have a high success rate when she's picked in the Quake Pro League. She's not easy to play, she's not easy to control, and even then, if you have a bad start, you can kind of just, lay that pain on constantly. But dramis, oh my god! An absolute direct from that angle. He's just looking for the swag at this stage. whaz, can he even survive? No, he can't.
I think dramis is working on a frag movie or something, and he's like, I gotta get some footage for my new movie. And whaz, you are just the perfect subject to try out these moves on. This is beautiful, this is scary. But at this point, it's completely decided. It will be dramis taking home the victory. 2-1, and just a final rail to sweeten the deal altogether. Beautiful.
That was, in many ways, a bit of an Athena masterclass, I think you'd agree. That's when she works. She bloody works.
Yeah. Lots of damage coming out of dramis. Look at that. Almost 1,000 additional points of damage. It's actually whaz who picked up most of the items, of the major items and the minor items, but still, dramis' damage and his movement and his positioning, that was crucial and key to his victory.
We look at the way most of those fights broke out, and it was consistently positions where whaz is waiting, or in a situation where he's like, okay, I can take the fight there. He's kind of kicking around at the bottom of rocket, and he's got the LG out already, because that's what you do. If someone's going to come down and you're ready to spring a trap, maybe you're going to pepper the LG down and get a bunch of bonus damage. But in so many of these fights, you blink and it's over. It's just how perfectly dramis was both prepared with his own stack. First of all, he wouldn't have gone in for a fight if he didn't believe he had what it took to get the fight. But when these fights broke out, just so many of these replays, just pay attention to how quick the fights go, because it's entry shot, grappling hook, rocket, finished, done. And that's it. You blink and the fight's over.
A lot of risky plays too, like the first one that we saw, or the second one rather, coming out of dramis. He was 17 points of health and he still decides to just drop straight down and go for the railgun. That's incredibly risky, but it paid off very nicely for him.
We definitely started to see whaz hang around a little bit less in some of those, I suppose, comfort locations. And I think I took a couple of frags for him to go, okay, fair enough. But that was just perfect.
Oh, yeah. That
was a perfect read on where he's going to spawn, and the perfect placement on the LG, because you know he's going to collect it. And, yeah, that was just one of many excellent frags that we saw come through. And he was behind a bit at the start, and I was a little bit worried that, is this going to be just another map where we see Athena not quite work out, because whaz was hitting every rail. Every single time there was an opportunity to land a shot, he was hitting it in the first, couple of minutes or so, and you could see just how far that was putting dramis behind.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to go in for those big plays. He wasn't able to grappling hook into a location to try and strong arm his way into an item or a fight or whatever. But you have to rely on hitting 100% rail against that. Not many people, if anyone, could do that against that kind of champion.
It's also something that you could see change in the playstyle from dramis, right? After taking a lot of rails towards the start, I think he kind of realized, whaz is really hitting his shots. Maybe I should really not try to take any fights at a serious distance. And that's clearly what you saw in the highlight reel. Towards the end, almost all the frags were really close quarter, close combat. He just grapples right in and then uses the shotgun or the rockets to just finish his opponent off. Not going for these long-range engagements, not exposing himself when it's absolutely inopportune to do so, because he learned his lesson. He feels the sting from that railgun over time.
Well, what that means is that it was as close as we were expecting, which I think everyone always expects at this stage. It went down to a 2-1. dramis can be feeling good about that.
Yep.
We're going to go for a quick break, but before we do, I'm going to see if I beat you again, or whether it's going to... Because we're currently 1-1 if you count the unofficial practice one, where you were learning All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
My win.
Well, we're going to show you what's inside it after the break. Don't go anywhere. We have more Stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. Don't go anywhere.